Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's Deb C, and the place to be, it's Deb C. Boop, that's me. Boop, Deb C. Hey guys, happy Saturday. I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend and had a great day so far. This was the video that you were supposed to get yesterday. 20 questions with me, Deb C. However, I did not write them on Thursday night. I finished making my video and then I went upstairs and me and my mom watched Destination X. We tape it, it's on Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. We tape it and then we typically watch it, oh, excuse me, what's up with my eye? We typically watch it on Friday, but we decided to watch it on, did we watch it Thursday? Yeah, we watched it Thursday. We love it. We love watching shows like that. And especially, what's the other one? Deal or No Deal Island. Oh, see, I myself wanted to start watching it because I love Joe Manganiello. Oh, he's so good looking. But, I mean, we ended up just watching it and loving it. And since we're getting to know me, speaking of Deal or No Deal, my cousin, Keith, was actually on Deal or No Deal, like back in the day, like when it first started with Howie Mandel. He was actually on. I believe he won $250,000. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So there we go. So as you can tell, we're going to be doing 20 questions with me, Deb C. And there's only three categories that I'm going to steer clear of. I don't really talk about religion. I don't talk too often about politics. I mean, everybody can kind of figure out where I stand. My favorite color is not orange. So those two. And I really am not going to talk a lot about my job, just because the fact that I do have people that I work with that I think might watch my channel, and my channel was given a shout out during one of our meetings. So I want to keep my job private. So I'm not going to be talking about any of those. Suffice to say, I have been with my company for 25 years, coming up in December 1st, I think. And I'm very happy. I love the company, and that's all I'm going to say. And I do get along with all of my coworkers. We have a great team, and that's what I'm going to say about that. So, and also I'm not going to give out specifics information. Like, I don't put my last name out there because, you know, I don't want to give out too much information about myself. You know, like, I'm not going to be like, here's my address, here's my social security number, right? You know, so that's just that. And I also don't put up any pictures of like, my relatives. I don't really put up pictures of anyone unless they are like, yeah, you can go ahead and put a picture up of me. So you're not going to ever really get any pictures of my siblings or my nieces or nephews, just because the internet's kind of weird, you know, and I always say, be aware of your surroundings. So that's just that. Okay, let's get into it. I came up with these myself. Some of them I got from online. Some I just thought of in my own noggin. This is not a question. So I'm 57. I just turned 57 this year. I live in the house that I live in right now. Is the house that I don't want to say that I grew up in, because the house that I grew up in was right there, like literally in our big yard. So in the big yard right next to, in our lot, it's a lot that's right next to our house that we live in now. That's where a duplex stood. And we lived on one side of it, and my great Aunt Lena lived on the other side. Well, and that house was built by my father's family, and this house was built by my father's family. And my grandma and grandpa, my Nay and Biba, they lived in this house. And then my Biba passed, my grandma passed, and my Nay, my grandpap, he moved over there and we moved over here because we were a family of me and my 3 brothers and my mom and dad, and it's a bigger house and we needed a little bit of a bigger house. So we moved over here. So we have been here ever since. And this house was built also by my father's family as well, which my father's family came from Italy, and they then lived in, I believe it was Chicago, and then they came to Pennsylvania. So there we go. And my mother's family and my father's family is 100% Italian. My mother's family is part Italian and part Polish. So there we go. So I'm part Italian and part Polish. Okay. Do you have any siblings? Here's the start of the 20 questions. Do you have any siblings? I have 3 brothers, Kevin, John, and Brian. John and Brian are fraternal twins. I am the oldest. I am the only daughter. Therefore, I am the princess. And I was treated as such. When we lived in our other house, the duplex, the duplex, there were technically, I probably think it was like 2 bedrooms, but they made one room into a bedroom. It was small, and it had all 3 of my brothers. They had to have bunk beds. I had a big room. I feel like my room was bigger than my parents'. I feel like I'm Regina George. No, I was the princess though. Okay. Do you have any nieces and nephews? I do. I have. No, I'm gonna say technically. After all this, technically, I have 4 nephews and 2 nieces. Technically and technically. This is the reason why I say technically. I do say technically because only 2 nephews and 1 niece speak to me and my mother. That is family drama that I will chalk up to 2 things. 2 things can happen at the same time. You can feel more than one emotion unless you are a robot. That's it. We're not delving any more into that. Okay. What generation are you? I am proudly Gen X. I was born in 1968. I was a teenager in the 80s. I graduated high school in 1987. And I was born in the late 60s, but teen in the 80s. So I consider myself to be just like an 80s baby. I wasn't born in the 80s, but it's 80s for me, baby. I'm an 80s lady. That's me. The 80s was the best decade. The best decade. At some point, I'm going to have to do a video about the best decade, which is the 80s. Okay. Cities that I've lived in. Now, you would think that a worldly woman like me has lived all over the world. Wrong. I have only lived in Western Pennsylvania. I've lived in, the longest is my hometown, Jeanette. I've lived here the longest. I also lived in Edinburgh because that is in Northwest. That's in Northwest PA. And that's because I went to college at Edinburgh. I majored in speech communications, and I was on the campus radio station. That's right, WFSE, Fighting Scots, and my time slot was Friday night, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. DJ Deb C's house party. Oh yes, it was fun. And then I also lived in Pittsburgh. I lived in the Mount Lebanon area, and I also lived in Brentwood. So it was Jeanette and then Edinburgh and then Pittsburgh and back to Jeanette. The farthest that I have traveled, the farthest I've ever traveled, I went to France. Now listen, you're gonna be like, ooh, France. Here's the thing. I went in high school. Now you're probably gonna be like, oh, she's one of those people who's rich. No, I had to sell 1 million hoagies from Antoniak's and 1,010,000 Wilson candy bars from Wilson Chocolate in Jeanette. So no, I had to, it wasn't that we had money. And you're probably gonna be like, so you speak a lot of languages. No, I speak English. And when we went over to France, I did not use my French that I knew too much. I hate to say it because it sounds like that stupid, ugly American, but I used the phrase combien because that was, how much. I used bonjour. I used delien, which is derien or delien, which is thank you. And then I just enunciated my English words, which now is like, I can't believe that. Listen, back in the day, they may have cleaned up, but back in the day, I might be the only person that did not like French food. I was not a fan of it. My favorite part of France, like my favorite memory of France was when we went up on the Eiffel Tower. I was so excited because Duran Duran had filmed a View to a Kill music video there. That's so stupid. But when we saw it, it was the composer Handel. It was his birthday. So they were celebrating that, and they had fireworks, and they had like a symphony, or they had an orchestra like playing at the bass, playing Handel's music. It was beautiful. It really was. Okay. If I don't hurry it up, this is going to be literally like 3 hours. Okay. My favorite city that I ever visited. This is going to be a tie because because I, for the longest time, was like, I think it's New York City. And for the longest time, it was New York City. No, you know what? I'm going to say my favorite city that I've ever visited is New York City. However, like right there, like it could very well be tied for number one is New Orleans. New Orleans was just so eclectic. I love all the architecture. The food was amazing. The food was the best food I've ever had. The people are so friendly, just like so very friendly. And I love the fact that you would walk down these cobblestone streets and you would just see like a band, like a jazz band just playing on some like unconventional instruments in the middle of the street. I loved it. Like as a northerner, we're always like rushing around from here to there, but everything was slowed down and it just seemed so much more like intentional. And I loved it. I loved New Orleans. It was great. It's just a great city. It's like two total opposite ends of the spectrum, like New York City and New Orleans, but they're both just great, just great American cities. Okay. So the next one might leave people a little sad, and it would have left me sad years ago, but I don't know why I'm like this, but it doesn't make me sad anymore. Okay, so the question is, have you ever been married? The answer is no. And people are like, well, there's still time for you. I mean, here's the thing, I don't I don't ever want to get married. Like after seeing friends' marriages, after seeing friends' marriages and other family members' marriages, I'm like, I don't think I want that. I don't think I want that at all. I mean, I like the freedom, So I don't want that. And to that end, here's another thing I'm going to say. Two things I'm going to say that is going to make people sad. It made me sad for a while, but I'll explain. And to that end, I have never been engaged. And I don't think I can really say that I've ever been in a romantic love. And I know people were going to be like, oh, I feel so bad for you. But here's the thing. I think for the longest time, I was sad about it because that's what you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to feel like that. But just because you don't feel a romantic love, I have felt love many times in my life. I love my family. I love my friends. I have loved our dogs, my dogs that I've had more than I could ever love any man ever. That didn't come out right, but listen, I love my dogs and my animals, my dogs, like they're my children. So even though I don't have children, and that could be another question, do you ever want children? No. Reason being, I don't have the patience. I don't have the financial resources to raise a child properly. Would I want to raise a child in this world today? No, I 100,000,000% would not. Not with the way that people are, I would not. So listen, don't cry for me, Argentina, that I say that I've never been married or engaged, or I've never fallen in love. I've fallen in but never love. But I'm fine with it because, like I said, at this point right now, the reason why I don't date, I don't trust people. I don't trust easily at all. Blame it on Dateline. Blame it on True Crime Podcast. Blame it on all the trials that I watch. Blame it on the anxiety. Blame it on the anxiety. Blame it on the anxiety. That's just that. Okay, moving on to something that will make me cringe even saying it. What words make you cringe whenever you hear them? Now, we're gonna get this out of the way. There's words that make me more than cringe. They just anger me. Of course, the R word, the N word, the C word, the T word. There's no reason for any of those, okay? None of them. They're not just cringe-worthy, they're wrong, and they're gross. But if we're talking just words, the one word, the number one word, I will say it once and then I'm not going to say it again. Oh, and that's moist. I hate it. I hate that word. So there we go. That's it. Why does it gross me out? Because it just does. No. Because there's so many other words you can use. Soft, tender, damp, somewhat wet. I don't know. Tactile, pliable, whatever. Okay. And if I had to come up with the phrase would be, it is what it is. Listen, I used to work with someone and I would go to her with a problem and then I would just give the tip of the iceberg to what the problem was. And she would say, well, it is what it is. I hate that. It is what it is to me. When somebody says it is what it is, that in my in my experience, means you're not really paying attention. You're just brushing me off. That's why I hate the phrase, it is what it is. My first celebrity crush. My first celebrity crush was Andy Gibb. Listen, if you don't know Andy Gibb, I'm gonna put a picture right here. Oh, Andy Gibb. Oh, you don't know. And that's crazy because now, would I go for a guy that has that much chest hair? No. Oh my gosh, do yourself a favor and go out and listen to I Just Want to Be Your Everything by Andy Gibb. It's still a good song. I don't care what anybody says. I Just Want to Be Your Everything by Andy Gibb is still a good song. Oh, I love it. Okay, my first concert. My first concert was with some of my other crushes, and that is Duran Duran. Duran Duran at the Civic Arena, aka the Igloo. I believe it was on the Seven and the Ragged Tiger tour. Oh, you guys shut up. Oh my God. And we almost didn't make it down there because it was snow. It was like snowing real bad. So my mom and my dad took me and my friend Andrea down to the Igloo in Pittsburgh to see Duran Duran. We made it, and it was the best. And it was the best. Okay. First job. My first job was at Burger King, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. That was like one of 3 jobs that I had working in food service. Burger King. I also waitressed at a local restaurant for one summer, and my mom was the cook. And I also worked 2 summers in college at Idlewild Park, and I didn't work rides or games. I worked the first season. I worked at the sweet treat stand, so I made like brownies and cookies, and I had to gather up the cotton candy, and it wasn't the kind that you put on a stick and you go like this. It's the kind where you had to put on a plastic glove, and you had to go around and put your hand in that vat and like pick it up and put it in the bag. I would come home with cotton candy everywhere. And then they moved me down to the Western town, and I worked at the saloon, and we had like hot dogs, nachos, fries, and you weren't supposed to do this, but the funnel cake was right next to us, and my friend Marianne worked at the funnel cakes, and we would trade food, and then a memo come out saying you're not allowed to do that. I don't think we ever traded for potato patch fries. Potato patch fries were good. Listen, if you're from Western Pennsylvania, you know potato patch fries. It's Kennywood. You can get like cheese put on it or gravy. I would always get cheese. Potato patch fries are the best. They're hand-cut fries. They're the best. And then the second season, they moved me to the hamburger stand by like the grill right by the pool. The amount of older guys that would come up in banana hammocks with hairy backs. Oh, no. That was gross. But if we wanted to eat a hamburger, we would just like break the hamburger, and you really can't serve a broken hamburger, so we would just mend it with some cheese and we would eat it. We would have like hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries, stuff like that. Oh, it was the worst. It was fun, but it was the worst. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Do you consider yourself to be an introvert or an extrovert? Before COVID, I was a complete extrovert. Constantly. I was out, I was doing things. After the pandemic, I am much more of an introvert. Although from time to time, like now I'm really a homebody. I really prefer to just be in the house. But there are times where my extrovert will slip out, like during our morning meetings. I'm the person that's there for like a laugh, to make people laugh. I know, surprise, surprise. So sometimes my extrovert will slip out. Okay, and next up, the next question number 13. What was your best concert you've ever seen? Best concert I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of good concerts. Back in my younger days, I saw a lot of concerts, a lot of good concerts. The best of them being Prince. Prince was the best concert because, listen, he sang most of his hits. Now going in, we were like, ooh, we want to hear him sing the dirty songs like Darling Nikki and Cream. He was a Jehovah's Witness at the time, and he didn't sing any of his dirty songs, but he sang everything else. And he also did like an acoustic set. He sang songs that he wrote for other people. He was a half an hour late, but when I tell you, oh my God, like just the absolute, just the best concert. I don't know that we are ever going to have another performer like Prince, like who wasn't just like a performer, but a showman. He was just amazing. So we're like, I think it was like $90 for the ticket, but also at the time he was not with a record label. So he was putting out his own music. So he also included with the ticket, you got his CD, his new CD. And which at the time, I don't even know if it was out yet. It might have been out, but amazing. So it was like in the round. So he was late and we were like, how is he going to get up there? Well, the one girl that went with us, Erica, she was a super fan. She's like, they're going to put him in one of these on one of these boxes on wheels. And they're going to roll him up and he's going to pop out. And we're like, no, he's not. And she's like, okay, watch. And then she said, look right there. And there were all these big guys that were around this one box that was like not super huge. She's like, he's in there. We're like, no, he's not. Sure enough, we watched. And he went like real close to the stage and we saw him pop up and get out. So Prince was tiny enough you could put him in a big purse with like a juice box and a little package of like goldfish crackers and he would be okay. That was like the most amazing concert, which doesn't surprise me because Prince had, you can't tell me indifferently, Prince had the #1 halftime show in Super Bowl history. I'm sorry. You're playing Purple Rain and all of a sudden it starts raining and you got those big ass heels on and you don't fall down and neither do your dancers. Amazing. Okay, who was my #2? My #2 favorite was JT, was Justin Timberlake, but I'm going to tell you, thank God. No, I'm going to save that for a rant for tomorrow. That's it. Justin Timberlake was my #2. My #3 was Tina Turner. See what I mean? I saw some legends before they passed. And I'm so glad that I saw them before they had passed. Legends like Prince, Tina Turner, and David Bowie. I saw, because I'm a big fan of 9 Inch Nails, and I do really like David Bowie. I was going to see 9 Inch Nails. My friend Carrie was going to see Bowie, and it was out at Star Lake. And if you're from Western Pennsylvania, you know Star Lake sucks. It's the worst. It's all the way out in Burgettstown. It takes forever to get there. The parking lot is terrible, and there's only one way out, and it is the worst. So we went to see that, but I have like a large range of musical taste that I went to go see. Like, I went to go see Nine Inch Nails twice, but I also went to go see Josh Groban twice. Do I love Josh? I love Josh Groban. So, and I also went to see country concerts. So there we go. I'm all over the place, and I love my boy bands. Okay. Question number 14. What's your favorite movie? Favorite movie is Grease. I love Grease. I absolutely love Grease. You can't tell me nothing. And here's an underrated song that is one of my favorites. I'm gonna say this is my top, maybe my top two, one of my top two songs, if not my number one. And that is this. Now I can't even think of the name. There are worse things I could do than go with a boy or two. That song from Rizzo, sung by Stalker Channing, which was like, oh, it's the song. It's right before they go to Thunder Road and they race and they do the drag race, and everybody thinks that she's pregnant, and she's like, it's like, hey, I know what I am. I know that I flirt with guys. I know that I make out with guys. So what? I would rather do that than be this one that's flirting and like being a tease. But it shows that she, like, even though she's this tough girl, she's still like has a soft side, and she still hurts. That's one of my favorite songs, that movie. That's an underrated song from that movie. I love it. And just like with music, my favorite, like my range of movies is different as well, because I love Grease, but then also in my top 5 is Anchorman, not the second one, but the first one. Anchorman, Legend of Ron Burgundy. Also up there is It's a Wonderful Life. I love It's a Wonderful Life. Also up there is Good Will Hunting. So I'm all over the place. Okay. I would say also up there might be La La Land, because I did love La La Land. All right. Favorite TV show. This is no surprise. It is The Office. Yes. Did I continue watching after Michael Scott left? Steve Carell? I did, because it's my favorite show. Why am I going to stop? Was it as good? No. However, and if you were to say who was your favorite character on The Office, honestly, I might have to say Creed, because listen, he's not he's not one of the big players. Like, sure, I love Michael and I love Dwight, however, there's these little gems that you have to you don't catch right away, but it's just little hidden things that you're like, when you hear it, you're like, wait, what? And it's just, it's funny. It's my favorite. Office is my favorite show of all time. Now, back in the day, if you would ask me when I was a kid, it's like a child, no, I don't want to say a child, but if you were to ask in the 70s or the 70s, I would say Laverne and Shirley. I loved Laverne and Shirley. I loved Laverne and Shirley. But I loved it when they were in Milwaukee, not when it jumped the shark and they moved to California. And then Shirley left and it got really bad. I think I might have stopped watching it around then. Okay. If you could live someone else's life for one day, who would you pick and why? Now, in the past, I would have picked a famous celebrity. However, my answer to this is no one, because no one's life is perfect. And what people put out there on social media isn't necessarily the truth. Would I want to live the life of a celebrity, a big celebrity? No, because then you don't have any privacy. And it all goes back to people are more unhinged today. Like I feel like there's more of the thought of society of like, well, you're famous, so you pretty much agree to put all of your life out there, which you do agree to put your life out there, but I feel like people have these feel like they have a parasocial relationship with you, whereas like, they get to know you, they watch all of your TV shows or all of your shows or all of your they go to all of your movies, or they listen to they buy all your CDs, your albums. Do people do that anymore? They download them, they go to all your concerts. So they feel like they have like some kind of a connection to you. And people are it seems like nowadays the public might be more agreeable that they're like, well, if you're a celebrity and you're known and you're very well known, then this is something that should be expected, which when celebrities start getting stalkers and people breaking into their house and like things like that, it's just scary. So I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to live anybody else's life. I just am fine with mine. Okay, if you win the lottery, what would you spend the money on? Well, this would never happen because I don't play the Powerball. But if I did and I won, the first thing I would do is I don't think I would move anywhere. I would not buy a house and move anywhere. I would stay in this house. I would put a fence like all around our property, gate the whole entire property, which would be pretty expensive, but that's what I would do, because here's the reason why. Because number one, I don't want people running in and out of our yard, which they sometimes will do now. And I'm not a fan of that. I hate that I'm becoming the old woman who's like, this is not a public park. But that's how I am now. Also, if there's any like trash that would like blow, I don't want it in my yard. I don't want it in the yard. Plus, it would be also nice to have like, Jack be able to run around freely outside. I would put up a nice fence, a nice fence. I would also get in our lot over there. I would get like a big underground pool. I would get a big underground pool, and I would get a whole area built up down there, and I would have like a cabana. I would have cabanas, and I would have like a little bar area, and I would have a hot tub. I would have all of that. Also, downstairs on our back porch, we have an arborvitae bush. I would get that ripped out, and I would get that built into like a nice little area built up where I would have a hot tub there, and I could go there in the winter, and it's because it's all under the roof. I love that. I would do that. I would also, if I won like billions of dollars, I would also start a farm. This is what I would love to do. I would buy farmland, and I would start like a dog sanctuary where dogs that are not able to be adopted, like we love adopting older dogs because older dogs aren't looked at, because everybody wants puppies, because who doesn't love a puppy? Plus you have more years with them. But older dogs need love too. Older animals need love. And the special needs dogs that nobody wants or nobody can afford to take care of. I would take all of those dogs and I would put them on this farm, and I would hire staff, and I would have them taken care of, and they would be able to live out their best lives. They would be able to live, I would have a vet there, and I would have staff, and they would be able to live their best lives till the end of their life, and they wouldn't have to worry. Because listen, I've said it before, animals, I trust animals more than I trust like 99.9% of humans. So listen, that's the one thing I would absolutely love to do. Okay, one thing that makes you smile. There's many things that make me smile, but if I could pick one thing, the one thing that makes me smile every single day, dogs. Well, Jack and dogs. Okay. So if the question is, are you a cat person or a dog person? I'm a dog person. Okay, the worst date you've ever been on. The worst date that I've ever been on. I've been on a lot of first dates. A lot of first dates. Most of them blind dates. And the worst date, I ended up meeting this guy. It was a blind date. It was at this little pizza place, this little pizza restaurant. I think it's Il Pizzola. Anyways, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but they used to have one in downtown Pittsburgh, down Market Square. So I met this guy at this restaurant, and right there on Main Drag in Mount Lebanon. So I was dressed real nice. He showed up in these like cut up jeans that were kind of like tattered a little bit. This t-shirt that had a couple stains on it, and it was ripped up, and this hat that was kind of like I don't want to say one of those Bad Bunny hats, but it looked like a straw hat that was all like tattered a little bit. So we're sitting there. He took the hat off. And we're sitting there. We're eating. He would not stop talking. And you know I love to talk, but he was really talking, like a lot. And we had like our silverware there, but they also had steak knives. And he said, "Do you mind?" And he reached over, he grabbed my steak knife, and he started just cleaning his teeth out right at the table. So after we were done, I said, how about if I just pay for mine? And he said, okay. And that was it. I cannot even remember his name. There was not a second date. And the nice thing was I lived like right, when I say right around the corner, like all I had to do was just like walk out. Like I would walk out of the restaurant and then make a left around the corner, go down here and then walk and then boop. And it was right there. So I just walked there. I didn't have to spend a lot of time like driving there or anything. Terrible. There was another guy, and he seemed really nice. And he said he was tall. He said he was like, I believe he said he was like maybe like 6 foot or 6'1". This guy showed up. I'm 5'7". This guy showed up, and this guy had to have been 5'2", 5'3". Now that's a bit. Now I'm okay with the short king, but that's a bit of a big discrepancy. I would think. So yes, I had a lot of first dates, not a lot of second dates. Okay. And the last question is, what would you like to be remembered for? I would like to be remembered for being kind, and I would like to be remembered for making people smile and making them laugh. And when people say like, do you know what you were put on this earth for? I do. I was put on this earth to make people smile and to make people laugh. That's what brings me the greatest joy, is when I see that people are, I'm making people happy, or I'm making people laugh, then that just makes me, yeah, that makes me feel good. Yeah. So I want to be remembered for being kind and for making people happy and making people laugh. Yeah. So those were my 20 questions. It took longer than 20 minutes. So if you have any other questions that you would like answered, maybe I'll do this again, put them in the comments. If nobody told you yet today you were loved, seen, and heard, please make sure that you put love, kindness, compassion, acceptance, hope, and positivity out there in the world. Also, please take care of one another, treat each other the way you would want to be treated, and kindness is always free, so spread it. Always be aware of your surroundings, be smart and safe. Let's drink some water, hydrate. This is a refresher that I made with water, but also some zero sugar. Oh, it is pouring, and some zero sugar lemonade. Honestly, I have to have undiagnosed ADHD or ADD, because I was squirrel. But isn't that beautiful? Look at that. And also, if you're in a dangerous situation, please know Dolly and I are sending our love, thoughts, prayers, and positive energy your way so you make it through. I love you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. Bye.